So, I want to talk a little bit about bullying and what I feel it means to be a bully or to bully someone. Now, keep in mind that this is from one person's perspective and it can go different ways. You could even word it as something different other than bullying, I suppose. And the reason I think about bullying a lot, and I've talked about this a lot, is this not necessarily because I feel that I've been bullied more so than other people, because I even have my moments in which I'm a bully. And I think we all do. And I think it's about, being cognizant over your when it's happening, right? When it's coming in and when it's coming out. And first, let's just start by, let's talk about when I was a kid and everyone was bullied, briefly as a child or at some point. An example, let's see, I think I was in the seventh or eighth grade. And back then, say in junior high, there's a lot of bullies. And in my experience, what I found was most of the time, bullies seem to be the larger children, the ones that developed faster and the ones that were overweight. It's because they felt that physically that they could get away with bullying you emotionally or physically because you wouldn't be able to do anything about it. Either A, because you're not smart enough or witty enough to be able to handle it, or B, you're not going to fight back physically, right? If a kid is twice your size. And what I will say is most of those kids in junior high or middle school that are bullying you because they're larger than you, well, there's going to come a time when they're not larger than you. And heck, I even had kids that bullied me in middle school or junior high, and then we got to high school and we were friends. I grew and they kind of realized that they were just like emotionally immature at that point and that their behavior was not warranted and they became a whole new different person. So the important part at the end of this video is that you understand that we all can grow and not be that way. But in my situation, when I was in the seventh grade, I was going through certainly some awkward phases, as if I'm not still pretty awkward. Let's be honest. And you know, there was this one kid in particular that he was hanging out. He was a fat kid. Let's just call him fat. Let's just not even try to be nice here. He was a fat kid, and he was hanging out with this other little skateboarder. You know, we had them skateboarders back then, and let's just be real. They were punks. They were total punks. They were bullies. Most skateboard kids I knew, they were bullies. They were class clowns, and they didn't care. And he had this heavyset little bully teamed up with him because people were hanging out with the little skateboard guy because he was funny. Everybody's gravitates towards the class clowns, right? And they would do that. They would just football practice would end in the morning and we'd be on our way to class, and there'd be some flicking of the ear. The ear flicking used to be a really big thing back then. That's why I just don't even put up with it. But they'd be flicking the ear or whatever, and you get to class. And man, one day this big old bully, we had morning practice and we'd shower after practice, and you get all your sweaty clothes and you just put them in your duffel bag. And we get to algebra class in the morning, and this kid pulls out my old soaking, I'm telling you, football practice, pulled out my soaking wet underwear, and he threw them across the classroom. I had to get up out of my chair and walk like 4 or 5 aisles over to pick up my old dirty underwear. And that was embarrassing. That was a really embarrassing moment. And we all go through it. I mean, at the end of it, it's what makes you who you are, and it gives you strength to prosper in life. So, no hard feelings, man. That guy ended up becoming one of my really good friends in high school. So that's an instance of like what happens with bullies in junior high. But I think most of the time, because before COVID hit, this whole bully thing was a really big deal. And I felt like having children in middle school and elementary at the time, I thought they'd really gotten a really good grasp on bullying. And then COVID hit, and it just seemed like it got a lot worse because kids weren't having those social interactions and they weren't having it preached to them every single day at school about being a bully. And I've seen some bad things, particularly you try to warn your kid when it gets into high school what it's going to be like, and you just stay away from those kinds of people that bully. But here's the problem. It's not just in school. We as adults have a tendency to bully as well. And we teach our children what it's like, because the point of this video is to let you know that a 7th grade boy pulling out a pair of wet underwear out of a duffel bag and throwing it across the classroom is not the only form of bullying. A 7th grade boy flicking your ear to make his little friends laugh is not the only form of bullying. One of the most common forms I see is what I've called it when you back a caged animal. Okay? I guess it's not caged animal if it's, you're backing an animal into the back of the cage. Okay? And you enter the cage with the animal. That animal's only got one way out, right? He's going to fight you. He's going to fight you to get out if they feel threatened. And this is, I bring this up and I talk about this all the time, is because that to me, fosters this environment where bullying's okay. Because where I'm going with this is what I experience in my life. I experience this with adults, and I experience it with my own children. People learn that aggression is a way to back people down. That if you behave aggressively, the other person will be so intimidated that they will back down from you. And that is not right. What causes this aggression? Okay? What causes these kinds of aggressions are your own anxieties from within. When you internalize and you have this fear, this burning fear or guilt or whatever it comes from, that we're going to just call anxiety, right? Because that's what, to me, anxiety, that's what it seems like. You've got these fears and you've got these things that you just generally just can't put it all together to get it in gear. And you start to portray that onto someone else. You wake up on the wrong side of the bed and you jump out of bed and you just start barking at people. Well, those are your own anxieties. Why are you going to bully those onto other people? Okay? And this happens when all of this stress just overwhelms you. And like I said, everyone does it. Adults do it. Children do it. Okay? And I'm seeing it from children a lot. And that's why we make these videos. We make these videos because I'm talking to my children. I'm talking to your children. I'm talking to you so you can talk to your children. So you can be aware of these things so you recognize them when they're not happening. Let's give a recent example here. Okay? I've got a child that every time that we've got to get down to, we're just going to be an okie here. We're going to call it getting down to the nitty gritty. Okay? We're going to get down to the nitty gritty today. We're going to get up and we're going to do some homework assignments. We're going to get up and we're going to get out there and we're going to do some chores around the house. Whatever it is we're going to do, we've got a plan. We have laid out this plan for today on how to be successful and how to get down to the nitty gritty. Now, what happens is that person starts to boil over with anxiety, and then aggression, it comes out in the form of aggression, and then they turn into a bully. Now what they've done is they're manipulating whoever else is involved in this situation. If it's a child doing it, now they're trying to manipulate their parents or their siblings into backing down. They're bullying them because they don't want to handle what they have to handle. They don't want to be in control of their own lives and their own thought processes. Let it soak in a minute. Let it soak in, seriously. And I'm not going to lie. I have my bullying moments, okay? But I like to direct them for a purpose. As a business owner, one of my most common problems was, we get to the office and, we'd sit down and everybody gets into the office in the morning and I say, all right, here's our task. Let's get out there and get to work. And, that's just general. We're going to handle business. That doesn't particularly, make me a bully. But there are times that, we sit down and we outline this day and then the guys go on about their business and a couple hours goes by or whatever and the day just isn't going the right way. Okay. And they start to throw those anxieties on me until eventually I'm just like, enough's enough. You're just going to have to man up and you're going to have to handle it. And sometimes my aggression will even boil over here. We call it just being a hothead. Sometimes it happens. And, boy, you got to watch that. But that's when it's just, it's all about being cognitive of it and understanding that, hey, let's figure out a way to get this through without all of this aggression that comes in the form of bullying. So one of the things I felt that when we're meeting at the office in the morning and, after I've asked people multiple times, hey, when we come in here, we're all here to make money. This is a business. When we come in here, I don't understand why we have to do a little 15, 20-minute talk. I don't know why we have to talk about what we had for dinner, why we have to talk about what our kids did last night or sporting events, this and that. I'm okay with if we can find a time throughout the day to talk about that, but the morning's not the time to do it because we got to get down to the business. We've got to get down to the nitty gritty. You picking up a theme here? The theme is professionalism, okay? And if you're running around being a bully, if you're running around allowing other people to be bullies, then we're not having a lot of professionalism. And success is coming from that professionalism. So learn how to read these aggressions. Learn how to understand what exactly being a bully means, because for all of us, it's in different forms. So I would ask you to think about that today. Think about the people in your life. Think about the way they behave towards you. Think about why they're behaving that way. And most importantly, how we get them on the right path to not using that aggression. Because it's not pretty. And it's holding other people back. Don't be a bully.